This is the Great Wall of China. But is it really the Great Wall of China? Now, just to put it into perspective for you, they say this wall, which is 13,000 miles long, which, to put it in comparison, the length of the US from east to west is about 2,800 miles. So that means you can travel the length of the US east to west coast 5 times about, in comparison to the miles that this massive wall from the 7th century BC spans. Now, why build a wall like this? Well, they say it was for the roaming barbarians, the Tartars. So they spent the next several hundred years constructing this wall for those roaming barbarians, only to put the battlements on the wrong side. Those are those top little notches on castle walls. Yeah, those are actually facing towards China. Also, why would China build a wall with entrances on the opposite side, in Mongol Russia? That's because the wall was never made for the Chinese. It was always the Great Wall of Tartaria. And just look at this older map here. You can see that wall perfectly blocking off Tartaria from what is now China right here. And in many historical documents, it was even referred to as the Great Wall of Tartary. And pause to read the rest of this if you want. We are the inheritors, the reclaimed ruins of the old world. We just merely repurpose them and rename them.
Wall of China, one of the biggest wonders of the world, no? They say this side is, see, where they throw the arrows to the enemies, and that's why they built this giant wall to protect China from their enemies. But you know what's interesting and very curious? This side is outside China. This side is China, and this side is outside China. Meaning, this wall, the history is a lie. This wall was not built to protect China from these enemies. It's the enemies which are in this side are protecting themselves from China. So, the Chinese did not build this wall. Who built this wall? I'll tell you, research the Tartarian Empire, yeah, which was in all this area, and they were defending themselves from the Chinese, not the other way around. History is a lie, geography is a lie, science is a lie.
Did you know that the Great Wall of China is 13,171 miles long, and it has always been downplayed throughout history? To put that in perspective, from the east to the west coast of America, it is an average of 3,000 miles. Yet you have to times that by 4, then add another 1,000 miles, and you're still not at that number. This leaves you to wonder, how did they build such a wall, and why? They started to build the wall before Jesus had even walked the earth. No ruler with a sane mind would dedicate so much time and resources to building something with no purpose. This is where it takes a turn. The ruler that ordered it to be built knew it would take over 1,000 years. Who were they defending against that they needed all 1,300,000 miles to even have a chance at winning? What or who were they so scared of? Numerous reports, maps, and old photos suggest that the wall was built by the Tartarian Empire. If you look at old photos, the steep side of the Great Wall and even the lookout posts are actually facing China, meaning that it was not built by China.
Oh, here's a new one they've been hiding from us. The Great Wall of China is actually the Great Wall of Tartaria, the most silent civilization in history. And it's actually not that new. Matter of fact, it's over 2,500 years old, which is how long they took to build this wall. Like, bruh, these guys spent so much time building it that whatever they were trying to defend themselves from didn't even exist anymore, but they just kept on building. Did these guys just like lose the plot and just continued building, completely forgetting why they were making this wall in the first place? Like, they took over 2,500 years to build this thing, which spans multiple dynasties, dozens of changes in power, emperors that came and went, none of whom can even take credit for this wall as a national project, because not one of them stuck around long enough to even see it finished, except for the last one, I guess. And like, what was so terrifying that you had to build a great wall that even after the thing you were defending from was gone, the mere memory of that thing was so horrifying that you just kept on building the greatest wall in history history for over 2,000 years. And calling it a Great Wall is also probably the greatest understatement in history. Starting construction in 700 BC and completing in 1878, your imagination can't even begin to comprehend how long this wall actually is, with a total combined distance of over 21,000 kilometers long, making it the longest man-made structure in the world. Like, take this in, the entire United States coast to coast is about 4,500 kilometers across. There is enough wall to go back and forth across the USA 4 times with 3,000 kilometers left over. Enough to go halfway around the circumference of the entire Earth at the equator, or to go from New York to London, then London to Moscow, and Moscow to Beijing, with over 7,000 kilometers to spare. It would take about 6 months of non-stop walking night and day to make it across the entire wall by foot. This thing is so ridiculously long, it barely even makes any sense. It's estimated that anywhere from 100,000 to over 1 million workers were involved in building it. But I challenge you to use your noggin and really try to picture this, because 2,500 years is an insanely long time to build anything. Just imagine something that started construction when Jesus was born and was still being worked on to this day with a couple hundred years left for completion. Clearly, a structure like this would have been built primarily for a functional purpose. Military defense is the commonly accepted idea, with over 2,000 watchtowers placed throughout the wall for surveillance. And again, whatever it was they were protecting themselves from must have been absolutely terrifying for them to build a wall this epic. Common history tells us they were merely defending against attacks from Mongolians, nomads, and neighboring dynasties in the north and west. But if you ever see the wall in person, you'll realize something about it that paints a much more disturbing story. In many areas, this steep side of the wall, which in defensive architecture faces the side you are defending against from, faces inwards, like towards China, which suggests the wall may have not been built to keep enemies out, but to keep something inside. Because the arrow slits where they shoot their bows from are also facing inwards, not towards the outside where the enemies would be coming from. YouTuber Wandering Wolf even confirmed this, as he was easily able to scale the wall from the outside going in, and proved to be much more difficult to climb from the inside, which makes absolutely no sense if it was supposed to defend from intruders from the outside. Perhaps it was intended to keep its own people, or something else entirely contained within its walls rather than protecting from outsiders. And if you listen closely, you might be able to hear the debunkers crying that this wall wasn't originally built as a singular unified wall, but rather a series of several smaller walls built at different times by different dynasties, in which neighboring states in ancient China built to defend against from each other, and is why the defensive side can sometimes appear to be facing inwards. Which is true and a very fair point, but there are the outer walls that always faced against hostile nomadic tribes and Mongols, with some going as far as to say that these sections of the wall even appear to have been intentionally repositioned hundreds of years later, so that instead of having the defensive side facing inwards towards China, they're now facing the outside in an effort to rewrite history to match their narrative. The pics you typically see online are the popular tourist locations, which are all heavily restored and renovated, but many parts of the wall are still deeply buried and unexcavated. It's estimated that somewhere around 30% of the wall is still completely hidden. Large stretches are in complete ruins, falling apart with vegetation growing all over it, and there are very few photos of these buried and overgrown sections online. Like, you really have to dig to find them, almost like they're hiding something. Which is why some say it wasn't even built by ancient China at all, but by the fabled Tartarian Empire. The Great Wall of Tartaria. Just a thought-provoking theory, but let the debunkers cry and call it racist or a harmful pipeline or whatever it is they do. Now, the Tartarian Empire is a rumored civilization that is said to have existed not too long ago, with advanced technology, energy systems, buildings that powered massive airships, and impressive architecture that spanned the entire world. A civilization that was eventually decimated and then covered up by the global elites in order to keep us in the shadows of their advancements to humankind. A topic which honestly deserves its own video, which I'll get to sometime, but that's about the gist of it. Now, if you look at old maps of the world, you'll actually see the mythical Tartaria, or Tartary, across large expanses of the globe. The Tartarian Empire, which spanned the majority of modern-day Russia and just Asia in general. And they even had their own flag. Would you look at that? And exactly where the initial construction of the Great Wall was, we see the border between ancient Tartary and modern-day China. Almost like the Tartarians built the wall to keep whoever or whatever was in China, whether it be tribes of ruthless savages they had to contain, slaves they kept imprisoned within the confines of their walls, or maybe even some feral creatures they had to control. All just theories and wild speculation. As always, it is possible that our mainstream historical understanding of the Great Wall is true. There's no need to cry. But then again, if there ever was a country that does a damn good job at controlling a certain narrative and suppressing truth, you tell me which one comes to mind first.
A wall that is longer than the Great Wall of China? China was just discovered in Portugal. No one's ever been to the top of this mountain, so they didn't know it was there. And they said it goes from Portugal all the way through Spain and into the rest of the Europe. And they're saying their estimates are that it's at least 250,000 miles longer than the Great Wall of China. And it just goes to show you that a lot of ancient structures on Earth have not been discovered. One of the world's top leading scientists, Dr. Remy Demi, now it's his job to figure out who built this wall and when they built it. And I'll keep you updated as we learn more.
They told you the Great Wall of China is just a very long wall, but when you understand what it actually took to build it and who it was really built to contain, everything changes. 13,171 miles, 4 times the entire United States coast to coast. Started in 220 BC, before Jesus, before most empires existed, and it took over 1,000 years to complete. No sane ruler dedicates that many resources across 10 generations unless they are absolutely terrified of something. Here is where it gets interesting. Look at the wall carefully. The steep defensive side, the battlements, the watchtowers. They face inward, toward China, not outward. Every defensive structure in history faces the threat, which means whatever they were afraid of was already inside. But here's where it gets darker. Some researchers believe the wall was never Chinese at all. Old maps and documents suggest it was built by the Tartarian Empire to contain whatever existed within China's borders, not to defend China, to imprison it. 13,000 miles, built over 1,000 years, facing the wrong direction. What exactly were they containing? And why is nobody asking that question? Follow for more.